Japan's comeback after a century of war. Their leader, Nobunaga, was assassinated. Ieyasu stepped in, started a new dynasty. The shogun ruled, the emperor was just a symbol. Outsiders were banned, Christianity was outlawed. This was a huge change from before. Only the Dutch could trade. Then, in 1853, warships showed up. Japan had a choice, trade or fight. They were already in crisis. Economy, unrest, famine, politics. Isolation was over. Unfair treaties meant losing trade control. The shogunate was overthrown in 1865. Emperor Meiji took over, starting the Meiji Restoration. This totally changed Japan's government and society. Japan feared becoming another European colony, like China. They built a strong government and modern army, inspired by the West. Feudal systems vanished to create one nation. Japan industrialized fast, adopting Western tech and education. The military became a power. Their motto, rich country, strong army, and Japanese spirit, Western tech. The samurai era ended. Japan's empire was about to explode. Japan's gaze turned to Korea. Korea, once a cultural bridge, became a threat by the 19th century. Japan wanted China and Western powers out of Korea. This rivalry split Korea into pro-Japan and pro-China groups. It all led to war. China had the bigger army and navy, so they were favored. But Japan's modern ships and trained troops paid off big. Japan crushed them, gaining land and cash. Taiwan and Liaodong were taken. Korea was independent. Russia, Germany, and France forced Japan to give Liaodong to Russia. Russia got a port and planned a railroad. Japan was furious. The Boxer Rebellion broke out in China. Japan and the West sent troops. Russia stayed and expanded into Manchuria. In 1902, Japan allied with Britain, Russia's rival. Russia wouldn't leave Manchuria, so Japan declared war in 1904. Russia had more stuff. Japan beating China was cool, but beating Russia? Nobody believed it. Europeans rarely lost to those they thought were beneath them. Japan surprisingly ruled the seas and pushed into Manchuria, crushing Russian forces. Japanese soldiers were driven, trained, and determined. Russia's size and unfinished railroad were a disaster. As Russian troops moved, the Baltic fleet sailed, firing on British ships by mistake. The Russian fleet traveled halfway across the world for 7 months. Crews were untrained, ships not built for heat. Russia's army finally fought Japan's, but Port Arthur had fallen. The Battle of Mukden, 2 weeks of intense fighting. Russia's defenses crumbled. The Russian Baltic fleet was destroyed. Japan lost little. Russia was wiped out. Both sides agreed to leave Manchuria to China. Japan kept winning. This war made Japan a world power. In World War I, Japan joined the Allies, clearing German ships from the Pacific. German islands in Micronesia were captured. After the war, Japan was at Versailles and joined the League of Nations. Soon, Japan hit hard times, economy, disasters, and a rising military. The Japanese Empire controlled the South Manchurian Railway. In 1931, Japan used a fake railway accident to invade Manchuria. Manchuria fell. Japan set up a puppet government. China complained to the League. The League's investigation took a year. They found Japan guilty. Japan quit the League. In 1937, a skirmish at the Marco Polo Bridge sparked. Japan declared an invasion, claiming it was for self-defense. During the invasion, Japanese troops committed horrific acts in Nanking for 6 weeks. Leaving the League, Japan joined the Tripartite Pact. In 1941, the U.S. cut off oil. Japan, an island, had no resources, but Japan believed their warrior spirit would win. In December 1941, they attacked Pearl Harbor, bringing the U.S. into the war. Japanese forces stormed through Southeast Asia, taking British territories. They put local rulers in charge of puppet governments. In 1937, the Marco Polo Bridge incident led to fighting between Japanese and Chinese. Japan declared an invasion, claiming self-defense. Imperial troops committed atrocities in Nanking. Japan left the League and joined the Tripartite Pact. The U.S. then cut off oil. Without resources, Japan couldn't win a war of attrition. Their warrior spirit was their only hope. The Pearl Harbor attack in December 1941 brought the U.S. into the war, killing 4,000 Japanese forces. They took British territories and controlled most of Southeast Asia by 1942. using puppet regimes. In 1937, the Marco Polo Bridge incident led Japan to declare an invasion, claiming Japanese troops committed atrocities in Nanking. Japan left the League, joined the Tripartite Pact. Japan's limited resources meant they couldn't win a war of attrition. Their warrior spirit was key. The attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941 brought the U.S. into the war. The attack killed 4,000 Americans. Japanese forces then advanced into Southeast Asia and took British. By 1942, they controlled much of Southeast Asia with puppet governments. In 1937, the Marco troops exchanged fire, leading to invasion. Japan claimed self-defense against China. Japanese troops committed atrocities in Nanking. Japan left the League, joined the Tripartite Pact. Japan's limited resources meant they couldn't win a war of attrition. Their warrior spirit was their hope. The attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941 brought the U.S. into the war, killing 4,000. Japanese forces pushed into Southeast Asia and seized British territories. By 1942, they controlled much of Southeast Asia with puppet governments.